Hey YouTube, spring is fully here now, and along with spring comes a ton of dandelions. And I'm actually pretty happy about harvesting these dandelions because they are so good for us in so many different ways. And today I'll be making poor man's honey or dandelion jelly. In order to have nice golden dandelion jelly, and in order for it to not be bitter, it's best to harvest fully open dandelion flowers. These dandelion heads have been washed and left to air dry. Now they're just a little bit damp, but you can see here, the idea is to get only the yellow parts of the dandelion head. So that's only the petals, not any part of the stem or any part that holds it together here. Easiest way that I found was to break them in half with two hands, like use my two hands to break them in half like that. And then you can see all of the petals inside. Holding down one side and pulling down on the other, it kind of separates if you keep pulling back on it. And that way you can get all of the petals pretty much. And then all that's left is that green part that we don't want. And the reason that you have to go through this long process is in order to have a less chance of it being bitter. So I've seen online that you could do it both ways and just boil it with these parts on, and that some people say it doesn't have that bitter taste as long as you just use this part of the flower and not the stems or leaves. So it is possible, I think. I'm not going to try it that way because all the recipes call for it to be just the petals. I've got about 4 cups here of dandelion petals, and this is time consuming, guys, so definitely it's not something you want to just give all your attention to. It's something that you want to do when you're maybe watching TV, watching a YouTube video, maybe sitting outside and having a conversation with somebody else or something like that, because it is time consuming and you don't want to just dedicate all your time to that only. It's one of those multitasking things that you can do. But once you get 4 cups, that roughly is like 500 to 700 dandelion heads. So it takes quite a bit of dandelion heads. I'm taking the 4 cups of dandelion petals and adding it to 4 cups of water in a pot. I've left the dandelion petals to boil in this water for about 5 minutes, and now I'm turning off the heat and I'm going to let it steep in its own liquids for about 6 hours, and then I'll come back to it. These are the parts left over after taking apart the petals, and you can keep that and air dry this and keep it for making tea as well, because these parts of the plant are pretty high in beta carotene, which converts in your body to vitamin A. Vitamin C and K are also in this part of the plant as well. So you can always dehydrate it and keep it for future use as well. The dandelions have steeped in the water for about 6 hours now. I'm going to transfer this into my strainer here with a cheesecloth, aka an old bed sheet that's been sterilized. And then I'm going to strain it out completely to separate all the petals from the liquid. Just going to squeeze it out. So I'm just going to transfer this back into the pot that I've cleaned out again and put it to a boil. Now that the water's starting to boil, I'm going to add 3.5 cups of sugar to this. I'm going to add some lemon juice to this. About 2 tablespoons is what the recipe generally calls for. I'm just going to leave the whole lemon in there to boil with the sugar so that it can help to create its own natural pectin. So I'm just going to stir it until the sugar crystals have dissolved, which they are just about fully dissolved right now. And then I will leave it on a medium heat to boil for about 40 minutes. So it's been boiling at medium just a little over medium heat for about 30 minutes. And you can see it's starting to bubble up quite a bit now. And I'm going to give it another 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to test it for doneness. So I'll come back. So this has been boiling for about 50 minutes now, and I'm just going to do a test for doneness. There's two ways to test to see if the jelly is going to become solid, and that is with the spoon. I think they call it the sheeting test. If the syrup breaks apart, like you know when water breaks away on a spoon, then it's not done. And if it comes down in a sheet altogether and kind of pools a little bit at the bottom of the spoon, then you know it's done. So you can see here, it's not breaking up at the top, and it's coming down slowly and pooling just a little bit at the end. I'll try the other test on a plate, which to me is a little bit more obvious. You take a chilled plate. I put my little plate here into the freezer for a minute or two, and then you just put the jelly on. You can see it's slowly coming down on the plate, so that's a good sign that it's moving very slowly here. And then the other test you do with the spoon is pushing the jelly forward, and if it wrinkles, you can see that. See the wrinkling? If it wrinkles, that means it's ready. I'm going to go ahead and pour it into my already cleaned jelly jars here. It's been a few days. We've been using this Dandelion jelly, or poor man's honey, and it is very much like the consistency of honey. Not only is it the consistency of honey, but it actually tastes quite a bit like it. So if you want this texture, I would say 45 to 50 minutes is what this ended up being from start to finish. And this is more like a syrup. So that's it. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.